Welcome back to Ask Brad. Each week I take your questions over Twitter, at @JBradEdwards. I pick a few of them, give you some answers. Here we go, starting with 1991 Tiger grad who wants to know, is Clemson headed to the BCS regardless of this week's outcome? My answer would be probably. If Clemson loses to South Carolina, they're not going to fall out of the top 14 in the BCS standings, and that's where you have to be BCS eligible for an at-large spot, top 14. So they will be there. The question is, will Florida State be in the national championship game? Because if they are, there's no doubt in my mind that Clemson will be picked by the Orange Bowl as the replacement for Florida State. So really, that's what it comes down to. Now, the odds of Florida State losing a game, I would say, are extremely slim. I would think that the thing that Clemson fans would have to worry about most would be the possibility that Alabama and Ohio State also went out, and if Jameis Winston, this is a big if Jameis Winston were to be charged and suspended, would voters move Florida State back and move Ohio State up? If they did, that would put Florida State in the Orange Bowl, knock Clemson more than likely all the way out of the BCS. Next question from Jeff Walker 405. What would it take for Oklahoma State to get into the championship game? Now, Oklahoma State's in the Big 12, and there is no conference championship game, so he's talking about the national championship game. Well, first of all, you need Ohio State, the other OSU, to lose a game. After that, you need South Carolina to win the SEC. Now, so the way that kind of shakes out, you're talking about, first and foremost, you need Missouri to lose this week to Texas A&M. I think that absolutely has to happen, because if Missouri wins, they get into the SEC championship game against either Alabama or Auburn. And if that happens, whoever wins that game is going to be ranked ahead of Oklahoma State, and that would pretty much kill their chances unless Florida State were to lose a game. And so that's the scenario. You need Ohio State to lose. You need South Carolina to win the SEC. And if that happens, I think Oklahoma State is probably in the national title game. Even if Clemson beats South Carolina this week, I think that Oklahoma State would get the nod over Clemson, just because you're talking about a game against Florida State. And I think much more people would rather see Oklahoma State play than have a Florida State-Clemson rematch, which was not competitive the first time around. Third question from Mike Irwin 2. If Wisconsin had won against ASU, how would it change the BCS rankings? I don't think it would affect, it would affect the rankings in that Wisconsin would be higher. I don't think it would change the fact that Ohio State would be at number 3, not any higher than that. And it looks like Wisconsin's got a good chance of winning out and getting into the BCS anyway in spite of it. So I would say, even though Ohio State might be ranked a little bit higher in some of the computers, it really more than likely is going to have zero effect on the way that the BCS games stack up. Bottom line is, Ohio State's not being held back at number 3 in the BCS because of that result. They're being held back because they have not looked as impressive week after week after week as Alabama and Florida State have. And the final question regarding the non-AQ teams in the BCS, Fresno State and Northern Illinois both went out. Who gets the BCS bid? Well, this time last week I would have said Fresno State had the edge, but NIU made a big move up in the computers. And if you look at what these teams have left on their schedules, I don't really see the opportunity for Fresno to close the gap in the computer significantly, which means that Fresno's going to have to gain ground on NIU in the polls. And they already have a big lead on Northern Illinois in the polls. If anything, I would think the likelihood is that Northern Illinois would close the poll gap on Fresno State. So at this point, I've got to give the edge to Northern Illinois. And I know it would be 2 years in a row for them in a BCS game. And some people might like to see a new team get a shot. But right now, looks like the Huskies have the edge. So there you go. Ask Brad. We'll do it again next week. Final time for the regular season. That's so sad, isn't it? It's almost over here, but you'll send me your questions next week to @JBradEdwards on Twitter, and I will pick a few of them and give you the answers right here on the ESPN College Football app.